What if in the next few moments fear no longer had a seat at the table of your mind, not tomorrow, not after another year of your life slips away, but by the time this very speech draws to a close, imagine that every whisper of doubt, every nagging hesitation, every invisible chain that once made you bow your head in surrender was shattered, not merely managed, not merely softened, but removed as though it were never truly there. Understand this deeply. You were not born with fear. It was woven into your mind by the hands of people who had long since abandoned their own courage, their own creative fire, and their own destiny. What can be installed in a mind by other people can be uninstalled by you. Hear that loud and clear. Fear is not a force of nature. It is the product of man's imagination, a creation of the human mind, and anything you can create, you can also destroy. I come to you today not to dress your ears with pleasant words, nor to tickle your intellect with idle philosophy. I come with a challenge, a spiritual, mental, emotional challenge. If you accept it, it will alter the trajectory of your entire life. There is a silent plague that has crippled more dreams than any physical ailment, and that silent killer is fear. It works stealthily, often undetected, like a slow poison dripping into the thoughts of the strongest individuals, polluting their ambition long before they realize what is happening. It is not poverty. It is not failure. Fear precedes them both, lurking in the corners of our consciousness, whispering the lie that we must settle for less, that we aren't meant to rise, that we cannot break through. Fear has robbed more men of wealth and success than any so-called bad luck. It has smothered more potential than any prison cell could ever manage. Do you think fear appears as a roaring lion? No, fear is a sneaky parasite. It comes disguised as reason, as so-called logic, as a caution that pretends to protect you but only paralyzes you. It presents itself as innocent questions. Are you sure it's safe? Isn't this too risky? What if everything falls apart? But do not be deceived. Fear in all its forms is the jailer of greatness, the silent assassin of ambition, and the natural enemy of success. When you permit fear to remain, you send a silent signal to your subconscious that your dreams are negotiable. Today, we shatter that illusion. I am not here to make you comfortable. I am here with the urgency of one who has sat with men the world called titans: Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Charles Schwab, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, men who built industries, shaped nations, and changed history with their will. I have observed that the line dividing a man who constructs an empire from a man who dies regretting his inaction is drawn by whether he permitted fear to guide his steps or he commanded his mind despite the trembling. One man succumbs to the illusions of fear, and the other man harnesses an unwavering faith in his mission. That is the difference. That is everything. From this moment on, you must treat this like a spiritual declaration. You do not flirt with courage, you commit to it body and soul. You do not tame your fear, you eject it from your presence. You do not postpone your boldness, waiting for some magical day when you feel fully prepared. You decide that you are ready now because you must act now. This is your rebirth, a complete identity shift. The you who arose this morning is not the same person who will take the next step at the end of this speech. Why? Because we will place fear beneath our heel, making it serve us rather than suffocate us. Let us begin. Fear rarely announces itself like thunder at midnight. It doesn't rattle the windows of your mind with a howl. It seeps in quietly through daily habits, through tiny concessions, through the repeated acceptance of small doubts. Each time you think, I can't do that, I'm not ready. Maybe tomorrow fear grows a new root, and if you are not vigilant, those roots twist around your potential until you can no longer recognize your own capacity to break free. Fear is cunning. It takes on the faces of, I need more information, I should just wait. Now isn't a good time. But these are not the words of wisdom. They are the stammering admissions of a mind that has forgotten it is in charge and has submitted to a phantom, I have studied the greatest magnates, inventors, political leaders, men revered for their achievements. Please do not think they had no fear. They did, but they mastered it instead of being mastered by it. Let me take you back to the private counsel of Andrew Carnegie, the Steel King who triggered my lifelong quest to unlock the principles of success. He once said to me, "Napoleon, if a man does not learn to pilot his own mind, he is like a wild stallion awaiting a trainer. His potential is there, but without discipline, he is at the mercy of everything around him." In Carnegie's eyes, fear had no place because his purpose was so vivid, so unwavering that fear's whispers could not penetrate. His definiteness of purpose was a fortress. That is the key. Fear aims to scatter your energy, to make you second-guess yourself, to keep you doubting until your opportunities vanish. It is not simply a thief of your actions, it is a thief of the person you are capable of becoming. Think about your life. Your entire life can be halted by a single pattern of thought. Fear is rarely a dramatic event that halts you in the middle of the street. It is a repeating melody in the background of your mind, playing a slow, insidious tune. Before long, you accept that tune as your theme. You think, well, maybe I'm just not that kind of person, or I'm just being cautious. But in fact, you're letting fear coil around you, dictating every step and settling you into a reality far less than your birthright. Did you know that entire nations have been subdued not by military force, but by the psychological weight of fear? Indeed, the mightiest chains are forged in the mind. I must therefore ask, what are the fears you have permitted to become habits? The 6 ghosts I named in Think and Grow Rich. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, fear of death. These terrors have claimed more souls than failure ever has. The greatest danger is not the superficial trembling of fear itself, but the way these fears dress themselves up as modesty, intelligence, or common sense. "I'm just being realistic," a man says. While fear pulls the strings, let me be clear, realism is acknowledging challenges and solutions. Fear is acknowledging challenges and running from them. That is the difference. Consider Henry Ford. He was not a highly educated man, yet his name is immortal in the annals of industry because of his unshakable refusal to let fear write his story. When he declared his intention to create a low-cost automobile for the masses, people ridiculed him. Engineers, financiers, and skeptics labeled him foolish, but he built it anyway. He succeeded not because fear was absent, but because his will to act was stronger. He recognized that fear multiplies in silence while courage multiplies in bold, unflinching action. Let the greatest inventor of his age, Thomas Edison, stand as another testament. He failed 10,000 times in pursuit of the electric light, but never once did he let fear dictate the final line of his story. He had already, in his mind, decided on the ending. The light would shine. Failure was simply another step, another clue about how to proceed. Fear wants to degrade your imagination into a vicious loop of what if. Edison trained his imagination to ask what next, and so must you. Let me prompt you now. Examine your existence. Where in your life has fear found a permanent address? Is it in your relationships, your career, your dream of launching a business, or in your desire to speak your truth? Fear, if left unchallenged, burrows deeper. The first step is to name it, to look it in the eye. Cease all attempts to cover it up with excuses like "I'm careful" or "I'm thoughtful." Name that hesitation for what it is. Fear. Once named, you face it. And once you face it, you can replace it with power, with faith, with definite decision, because fear remains where it is tolerated. Evict it like the intruder it is. Rejection of fear is not a passive hope that it wanders off. It is an active stance, a posture that says, "I see you, but you have no authority here." Fear is a ghost that can pass right through your mind if you do not cling to it. Charles M. Schwab once told me something that resonates through the decades, Mr. Hill The world does not belong to the man who avoids mistakes. It belongs to the one who advances regardless of them. Fear screams for attention, yet your faith must be louder. How do we cultivate that faith? Through repetition. If you repeat anxious thoughts daily, you build an anxious life. If you repeat bold, unwavering affirmations daily, you build an unshakable life. That is how you rewire your mind from the inside out. I have a challenge for you. Now get a piece of paper. Tomorrow is too late. The moment is now, and list every fear that has kept you stagnant. Write down the fear of speaking your dream aloud, the fear of failure, the fear of ridicule, the fear of financial hardship, the fear of not being good enough. Write them plainly as the lies they are, then create the opposites. For every fear, proclaim its negation with commanding language. I do not fear criticism because my vision transcends public opinion. I do not fear poverty because I understand wealth is first built in the mind and then manifested through decisive action. I do not fear uncertainty because I am the author of my destiny. Each morning speak these statements as though you are reciting sacred vows. Speak them until the muscle of your mind stands taller than the illusions that used to cower in the corners, because the one who eradicates fear is not someone who never felt afraid. He is the one who stands up, looks fear in the face, and refuses to accept it any longer. The subconscious mind, that vast hidden engine that controls our impulses and our emotions, does not discriminate between truth and untruth. It accepts anything repeated with feeling, whether it's "I can't do it" or "I'm unstoppable." This is both your prison and your gateway to total liberation. That is the reason I wrote so extensively on autosuggestion. It was not an idle concept. It was the secret mechanism by which giants like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and countless others reshaped not only their own destinies, but history itself. They took that principle, they harnessed it daily, and they watched the external world align with their internal convictions. If fear is the enemy, your mind is the battlefield. On this battlefield, autosuggestion is your mightiest weapon. Understand that your subconscious is always awake, always listening, always shaping your reality in the background. You don't see it working, but it is busy, constructing or dismantling your future based on the words, images, and emotions you feed it, especially those you feed it repeatedly and passionately. If your life has been governed by hesitation, it is not because you are less capable than others. It is because your subconscious was instructed by your past, by your environment, by others' negative suggestions that you must hold back, that you must not excel beyond the comfort of the crowd. But that programming can be rewritten. Henry Ford summarized the essence of autosuggestion perfectly when he said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right." He literally taught his mind by daily repetition and unwavering belief to see only possibility. He trained himself to see no reason for retreat, and the universe, faithful to the script he wrote in his subconscious, obeyed. Autosuggestion is your deliberate imprint upon the subconscious. It is you handing your mind a new blueprint to replace fear's architecture of doubt and half measures. You do this by speaking out loud, by writing in journals, by seeing yourself as a man of unstoppable action and unwavering faith. You do it every single day until you drown out the old timid voice in your mind. Watch yourself talk. Consider the words that echo in your quiet moments. The language you use with yourself is the daily practice that sculpts your entire identity. When you casually say, "I'm not ready," your subconscious replies, "Understood." Will keep you stagnant. When you let slip, "I'm worried I'll fail," your subconscious tucks that away and creates a framework of avoidance. But if you steadily declare, "I lead my thoughts and they do not lead me. I am decisive. I am strong. I act without hesitation, your subconscious locks onto that message. Now you are rewriting your neural pathways. You are changing what your body and mind do by default. That is how over time you annihilate the old fearful persona that once dominated you. That was precisely the method I used to transform my own life, the same method that produced impossibilities turned real for men like Edison and Carnegie. Edison did not simply rely on positivity. He repeated his final outcome so many times in his mind that no number of failed experiments could snuff out his inner conviction. He did not interpret 10,000 misfires as a reason to quit, but as 10,000 signals to refine. Why? Because he had decided from the start that success was inevitable. Every action was one more step forward. Every mishap, another clue. He hammered that belief into his own mind with such repetition that fear had nowhere to plant its seeds. So do as I and the titans of the past instruct upon waking before the world can impose its negativity or distraction. Speak your chief aim out loud. Affirm who you are becoming. Affirm the unshakable nature of your purpose. Then at night, just before sleep grips your mind, do it again. For it is in that drowsy boundary between wakefulness and rest that your subconscious is most pliable, most open to suggestion. Speak these affirmations, these vows not once but again and again until your voice in your own head reverberates as truth. This is not an indulgence for the weak. This is the proven system for the man who yearns to become unrecognizable to his old timid self. Autosuggestion is not optional if you seek mastery. It is the direct line to transforming your mind into an ally so powerful fear itself cannot penetrate. I assure you, a man who wields auto-suggestion with discipline can eradicate fear so effectively that taking bold action becomes second nature like breathing. Imagine living your life with no hesitation, no second guessing. That is not a pipe dream. That is the logical outcome of consistent mental conditioning. Your brain is a machine and you are the mechanic. If you feed it power statements, vivid visualizations of success, unwavering faith in your identity, it begins to operate on that level by default. Soon you move faster, you speak more clearly, you act with surety. Doubt tries to surface, but it finds no traction. Faith is truly the bedrock of all power, the invisible force bridging thought and results, the unwavering sense that you are locked into an outcome that must happen. Let me emphasize, faith is not something bestowed at birth, nor is it exclusive to the religious or the fortunate. It is built, it is carved from your daily decisions. It is the brick upon brick you lay in your mind by deciding who you are, why you are here, and what you will create with the time you have. Faith, as I define it, is a tool of creation, not merely consolation. When a man breathes faith, fear has no chance to stifle him. Think of Andrew Carnegie. He did not sprout from wealth or privilege. He started humbly as a messenger boy, but from the earliest days, he fed his subconscious a vision of the empire he would build step by step, year by year. Opportunity aligned with his unyielding certainty. He did not simply hope or wish. He believed so deeply that adversity only seemed like a training ground. When the moment came to catapult himself into massive success, he was ready because his subconscious had prepared the foundation long before. That is faith in motion. That is definiteness of purpose in living color. Most men wander through life changing their aims like the weather changes direction, letting fleeting moods or public opinions guide them. A man with no anchor to his purpose is a man easy for fear to enslave. Why? Because fear thrives in confusion and half-hearted decisions in the tyranny of maybe, but the man who sets his goal and seals it with unwavering conviction becomes immune to fear's sabotage. He knows that hesitation is more dangerous than any risk. Abraham Lincoln faced with a fractured nation, a civil war, enormous pressure from all sides held on to his definite purpose, preserving the Union and ending slavery. Did he face fear? Surely, but his purpose roared so loudly that fear was drowned out. Now, if you have not declared your purpose, do it this instant. No more procrastination, not a laundry list of wishes, not a daydream scribbled in haste, but one singular aim that sets your entire being ablaze. You must choose that goal, speak it, embody it until it becomes your new DNA. If you are searching for an example, look to Charles M. Schwab, whose unstoppable belief in his potential and in Carnegie's vision elevated him from a minor position to one of the most influential roles in the steel industry. Schwab's superiors were more educated, more seasoned, but lacked the burning desire, the unwavering faith he possessed. That unwavering faith made Schwab unstoppable. It gave him the power to persist, to lead, to galvanize others. This is how you must live. You must be the catalyst of your own success, the unwavering pillar in a storm of skeptics. Does that mean you will never fail? Absolutely not. Failure will come, ridicule may come, but faith is the alchemy that turns those very obstacles into stepping stones, that sees failure as feedback, that treats ridicule as background noise unworthy of derailing your mission. Faith, you see, is not tested in comfort. It is tested in adversity. True faith stands tall in the midst of swirling uncertainty because the man holding it does not accept any other outcome as possible. Remember this well? You cannot fake faith. You cannot pretend to be confident only in public while your private thoughts are riddled with doubt. The subconscious picks up on contradictions. You must earn your faith through disciplined daily practice, through a definiteness of purpose, through the repetition of affirmations, through deciding again and again in the solitude of your mind that this is who you are, that your mission is real, that your success is inevitable. When that internal alignment is firm, fear finds no cracks in your armor. You become a fortress of focus and execution. Yet so many men remain prisoners because they refuse to choose. Indecision is the sweet lullaby that fear sings to keep you from walking out of your cage. Each day you put off that courageous step, the bonds tighten. Fear does not destroy you all at once. It corrodes you gradually like rust, forming on iron. Each moment of indecision is another fleck of corrosion. Time passes, and one day you wonder why you feel weak, trapped, overwhelmed. The culprit was never a sudden blow. It was the slow dance with fear, the thousand small compromises, the indefinite choices that whispered tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. But once a man decides, truly decides, he becomes something else entirely. Henry Ford is an impeccable example. When he set his mind to producing an automobile for the average family, he did not care that the world laughed. They told him it couldn't be done, and he told them to do it anyway. His engineers, stumped by the mechanical challenges, returned again and again saying it's impossible. Yet Ford merely repeated, "Do it anyway." That is not blind optimism. That is a decision so final it warps reality to its will. If you want to see the power of refusing to let fear choose for you, look no further than that story. The 8-cylinder engine was considered absurd until Ford's unbreakable decisiveness made it real. Most men flirt with their goals. They tiptoe around them, always keeping an exit open in case it gets too challenging. That open door is fear's invitation, the small crack through which it creeps. If you wish to stand among the builders of greatness, you must slam that door shut. Decisiveness is not about always being right. It is about being committed, about sending a message to your subconscious that you mean what you say. The universe responds to that kind of steadfast movement. Thomas Edison hammered away at his idea of the light bulb in over 10,000 experiments, each attempt a reaffirmation of his decision to succeed. He didn't ask the public's permission, he acted. That is the true definition of decision. It is creation. When you decide, you create momentum, you create clarity, you cast away the illusions that hinder men who prefer to weigh their options forever. Even when you feel fear stirring, a firm decision is the fortress it cannot breach. Charles Schwab once more exemplifies decisiveness. Andrew Carnegie elevated him precisely because Schwab was a man who did not overcomplicate, did not overcalculate. He moved quickly, he tested, he learned, he advanced. That is the hallmark of decision in action. The man who makes swift, clear decisions will surpass 1,000 men who are paralyzed by the desire to make a perfect choice. Understand that the greatest error is not to make a wrong decision, it is to make none. Indecision is the breeding ground of fear because it invites infinite what-ifs to multiply. So, what have you left undecided? Is it your life mission? Is it your career path? Is it the vision of who you want to become? How many mornings have you awoken, letting the day decide your mood, letting your environment decide your opportunities, letting chance decide your outcomes? That pattern stops here. Right now you speak, I choose, I move without hesitation, I finalize my decisions because I trust my own mind. The moment you affirm this identity, your subconscious begins to shape your actions accordingly. Each time you act immediately, each time you eliminate delay, you're teaching your subconscious that you are a reliable authority. You become a man whose words have weight, especially to yourself. Remember this, every time you hesitate, you train yourself to doubt your own authority. Every time you dally, you embed a subtle message that your will is negotiable. That is how fear grows. Conversely, every time you act on your promises to yourself, you magnify your internal power. Soon, the chain that once held you becomes a piece of thread you barely even notice. So from now on, decide swiftly and execute. Even if the path is foggy, move. Even if you are uncertain, move. Because movement reveals possibilities that hesitation never will. Fear tries to tether you to the same spot, telling you to wait. Action slices through that tether like a blade. It is not that you will never feel fear. No man is free of it, but you will not let it pilot your ship. You will let decisiveness navigate your course, commanding the wind and the waves to comply with your purpose. Understand, too, that fear is not a single event, but a habit we sustain with repetitive, timid thoughts. And habits can be broken when replaced with greater repetition of powerful thoughts, unstoppable affirmations, daily decisions that reflect the identity you're building. Let me remind you how repetition sculpts the mind. This is not an empty mantra, but a principle so potent it can reshape your core. If you tell yourself each day, I am fearless, I move now, you are carving a groove in your subconscious. Repetition deepens that groove until fear's old groove is overrun and starved. This is what Andrew Carnegie did. It's what Thomas Edison did. It's what Henry Ford did. Through consistent, unwavering affirmation and action, they overwrote any latent doubts that society or upbringing might have etched into them. Picture Andrew Carnegie as a young man toiling in a telegraph office. He had every reason to give in to limitations, yet he used his imagination to see his future empire. Each day he fed that vision until it became the only truth his mind would accept. No matter the hardships, no matter his humble beginnings, he marched forward as if the empire already existed, and soon it did. Thomas Edison didn't wait for someone else to confirm that electric lights were feasible. He repeated his conviction 1,000 times with every flick of a switch and every spark in his lab. Henry Ford didn't gather a consensus on whether an affordable car could change the face of transportation. He just knew it could and repeated that to himself until the entire industry aligned with his dream. That is the unstoppable power of disciplined, repetitious thought. So I urge you, craft a daily ritual upon waking, read or speak your goals and your power statements. Affirm the man you are building within. In the evening, do it again so your subconscious marinates in those words during sleep. Enforce this routine like your life depends on it because your future life does. This is precisely what I mean by controlling your environment. The mind has an environment too. If you fill it with the opinions of the timid, if you saturate it with gossip and cynicism, you let fear in through the back door. Men like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison were ruthless about their mental environments. They surrounded themselves with people who fed belief, not doubt. They shielded their dreams from the sneers of cynics, refusing to let negativity contaminate their mental soil. If someone ridiculed them, they did not argue. They simply kept building in silence. Action was their retort. I ask you now, whose voices do you allow in your mind? Are these voices fueling your vision or siphoning your courage? Audit your environment the same way you would guard precious treasure, because your attention is a currency more valuable than gold. Would you toss your gold coins into the streets for anyone to pick up? Of course not. So why would you let just anyone deposit negativity or ridicule into your sacred mind? The standard must be, if they do not feed your faith, they do not deserve unlimited access to your focus. Become selective. Build a fortress around your subconscious. Let no sarcastic remark, no petty gossip, no cynical jab gain a foothold. If someone in your circle constantly belittles your ambition, reduce their influence or remove it. This is not cruelty. It is self-preservation. You cannot afford to let fear grow in the soil you have so carefully cultivated with your affirmations. Observe how Abraham Lincoln lived. He was known for his gentle spirit, yet he also mastered the art of silence and selectivity. He did not waste precious energy defending himself from detractors at every turn. His steadfast clarity intimidated them more than any rebuttal could. He was too anchored in his purpose to be shaken by fleeting criticisms. And so, must you be? Now, let us speak of the real knockout blow to fear: action. Swift, decisive, unstoppable action. You cannot outthink fear, for fear does not respond to logic, it responds to forward momentum. Fear grows in the gap between thought and action. The more you wait, the more time fear has to build a case against your dream. But the moment you act, you show your subconscious that you lead, that fear does not hold the reins. Andrew Carnegie once confided Napoleon, sometimes the best way to kill fear is to take a step so fast that fear can't keep up. That is precisely the ethos you must adopt. Consider Henry Ford. When experts said his idea was laughable, he didn't attempt to argue with them at length. He kept assembling cars. Action proves beliefs, words alone do not. That is why Thomas Edison, faced with repeated setbacks, never parked himself in a corner to bemoan his misfortunes. He simply moved on to the next experiment. Every attempt forward was a blow to fear's hold on him. Fear tries to chain you in place, but each step is a link broken. Movement cures doubt the way sunlight cures darkness. You don't negotiate with darkness. You turn on a light. In your life, when your mind conjures a bold idea, whether it is making a crucial phone call, writing that business plan, speaking your convictions, do not hesitate. If you wait until you're fully ready or the stars perfectly align, you have already lost. The trick is to strike swiftly, trusting that momentum will illuminate what you cannot yet see. The average man is paralyzed by the delusion that he must feel courageous before acting. But my friend, you act and then you discover your courage in the doing. Let me be unequivocal: if you do not learn to act quickly, you will remain a spectator, a thinker, a dreamer forever outside the arena where real progress is made. Yes, you might stumble. Yes, some attempts will fail, but that is how you refine your strategy and dominate your space. It is better to act and err than to let fear keep you inert. History does not commemorate men who never made mistakes. It celebrates men who press forward despite them. Abraham Lincoln did not see the exact path to victory amid the Civil War, but each decision, each step, each bold move shaped the Union's destiny. He didn't let fear freeze him. And so you must not let fear freeze you either. Let your purpose roar louder than your hesitation. Let your mission overshadow your doubts, and let the call of your future self drown out all what-ifs. Each time you step forward, you prove your new identity. You are no longer the man who cowers. You are the man who commands, who acts, who creates. That transformation is the fruit of repeated action, and repeated action is how you cement the identity that fear can no longer touch. But ultimately, all this talk of action, faith, and auto-suggestion means nothing if you have not pinned down a clear, unwavering purpose. Without definiteness of purpose, fear will find its way in through the cracks because your mind will not have a single all-consuming target to anchor you. Henry Ford had that target, a dependable, affordable automobile for every family. Andrew Carnegie had that target, to build a steel empire that shaped modern America. Abraham Lincoln had that target, preserve the Union and end the abomination of slavery. Thomas Edison had that target, bring electric light into every home. Do you see the pattern? When your resolve is total, fear withers. So write it out now. This is my single non-negotiable purpose. This is the result I will bring into this world before I depart. One aim that sets your spirit aflame. Not 20 aims, not a vague bucket list. Focus on the one that resonates with your soul. That is the magnet that will pull you forward through thick and thin, and once decided, let no doubt remain. Recite that purpose every single day with emotion. Let it direct all your energy, your decisions, your relationships, your environment. Now let us reinforce it through the master key that is auto-suggestion. Feed your mind this new reality. Talk to yourself in the language of certainty. Replace every old limiting script with one that proclaims fearlessness and abundance. Because if you do not program your mind for success, the world will program it for mediocrity. Henry Ford repeated the phrase, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right, not as a parlor trick, but as a guiding force for his entire mindset and his entire enterprise. He was instructing himself and everyone around him, think we can. He understood that if his team believed it could be done, they were halfway to the answer. If they believed it could not, the endeavor was doomed before it began. That is how you must speak to your subconscious. If you want to be fearless, you must first tell your mind daily, I am fearless. If you want to be decisive, you say daily, my decisions are final and I act swiftly. This is not self-delusion. It is reprogramming the neural network that was previously shaped by doubts and fears you inherited from a million external sources. Your mind is clay and you are the sculptor. If you do not take that job seriously, someone else. Society negative influences, your own unguarded fears will shape it for you. Burn these words into your heart. I do not beg fear to leave. I replace it with faith. I do not seek permission. I move because I have decided. I feed my mind power until it forgets how to be weak. Repeat this script until your bones resonate with it, until your actions reflect it without second thought, until the volume of your certainty drowns out every old echo of fear. Trust the process. It may feel awkward initially. You might feel like an actor reading lines, but soon you won't be acting. You will be living the lines you've chosen. This is how you become immune to the world's criticism, to the stares of those who remain blind to your vision. Once you have sealed your identity with repeated affirmations and fearless action, the opinions of others become faint echoes in the distance. You no longer crave their approval. You do not rely on their applause. You become the kind of individual who stands alone if need be, unwavering, unstoppable, a man who fear cannot sway. Embrace this truth. The crowd does not shape destiny. Individuals with extraordinary conviction do. Abraham Lincoln did not wait for the majority to agree. He shaped the majority. Thomas Edison did not wait for the world to accept the possibility of a light bulb. He built it, and then the world had to believe. Henry Ford did not ask the existing automobile industry to confirm his plan. He created an industry. That is what you must do with your own life. Stop looking over your shoulder for acceptance. The path of greatness is often solitary at first, but those who persist find themselves leading the very masses that once doubted them. Thus, repeat daily, Their opinions are not my instructions. I do not tremble before the crowd. The crowd trembles before my clarity. You do not need to speak these words to your critics. Speak them to your mind. Believe them until they define your posture. The man who fears public opinion is already defeated because he will always shape his ideas to fit in. The man who shapes his ideas according to his own definite purpose is the one who changes the world. Finally, we arrive at the culminating idea. Fear is ultimately vanquished when you unify every principle we have covered: faith, clarity of purpose, decisive action, daily auto-suggestion into one unstoppable force. You become the man who does not wait to feel unafraid. You simply move and fear recedes. You become the man who no longer asks for external validation. You carry yourself with a silent assurance that draws the world to your door. You become the man who no longer dithers with maybe, who no longer entertains half measures, who no longer busies himself with the trivial. You direct your entire being toward your chosen mission. And in that alignment, fear has no oxygen. The old illusions of what if it goes wrong are replaced with this will be done, and every obstacle is fuel. Fear tries to knock, but you have sealed every crack. You have replaced the old patterns with a new script, repeated daily until it is your nature. You have built a circle of influence that does not sabotage you with negativity. You have turned your back on the need for applause or permission. You do not hold conference calls with fear or indecision. You move, and the world shifts. But let this be clear. The words you've heard today are not simply to stir you for a moment. They are your new discipline. Return to them every morning, every night, every time that faint tug of the old self reappears. Hear them, speak them, absorb them until they become the pulse of your heart. That is how transformation is made permanent. Do not believe that hearing them once is enough. Fear rears its head when you drop your guard, so do not drop your guard. Choose to stand as a sentinel over your mind. Right here, right now, declare aloud, fear no longer inhabits me. I am the force in my life. I choose my destiny without apology or permission. Every single day, I feed my mind with such power that fear cannot endure. Let that anthem guide your steps from this moment onward. Let your actions reflect that fiery conviction. Because yes, the man you have been until now may have lived beneath the shadow of fear, but that man is already fading. A new man emerges, a man who builds unstoppable momentum day by day, who stands in the light of his own decision. Others will wonder what changed, and you will know you decided, you repeated, you acted, and you never looked back. So as I bring this speech to its crescendo, I remind you, fear is a phantom. It dissolves in the presence of unwavering faith, definite purpose, swift decisions, daily auto-suggestion, and a mind fortified against negativity. If you cling to fear, it will define you. If you cast it out, it will vanish like mist in the morning sun. Now is the time. No more excuses, no more postponement. You have felt the flame of truth in these words. You have felt the stirring in your soul that knows you are meant for more. You stand at the threshold of transformation, and the only question is whether you will let fear hold you back or whether you will charge forward with unstoppable resolve. I say charge forward, take control of your destiny. And as you do, allow me one final urging. Subscribe to this message, not just in words, but in the depths of your spirit. Let it inform how you rise tomorrow, how you speak to yourself, how you dare to act. Activate your potential here and now. Do not let this be one more fleeting burst of inspiration that fades in a day. Let it be your turning point. Commit fully to the process, speak the affirmations, practice the repetition, shield your environment, move in boldness. And when the old fear tries to call you back, remind it that you have chosen a different path. You have awakened to your power. You have stepped into your own destiny, and you will not surrender it again. Now go, my friend, and live as the architect of your life, the commander of your mind, the destroyer of fear, and the catalyst of greatness. The world needs men like you, men who refuse to bow to illusions, men who harness the unlimited power of faith and purpose. Subscribe to this energy, to this channel of thought. Invite others to witness your transformation so that they too can break their chains. The new chapter of your life has already begun. Walk into it with your head high, your spine unbowed, and let the unstoppable tide of your determination wash fear away forever. You hold the keys, unlock your potential, subscribe to your greatness, and never look back. Go forth and build the future that only a fearless man can. Your time is now.